Good evening, and thanks for joining us. My name is Steve Pultz. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment here at USD, and I want to welcome you tonight and thank you for joining us to our second of our 4 summer webinars in the Torero Countdown series. Tonight's webinar is entitled Getting Down to Business, Paying Your Bill, Getting Your Aid, and Avoiding Long Lines, and is intended to help you better understand the business side of becoming a Torero. Tonight, we hope and expect that there are many parents joining in, as well as students. And for students and parents, we think we've got a lot of really helpful information. It's going to help you navigate some of the business aspects of your time at USD. The staff in all of the offices that you're going to meet with tonight are always helpful, always able to help you and to welcome you into those offices. And there'll be times when you do, in fact, need to visit some of these offices. But tonight, we're going to try to help explain to you how you can take care of a lot of the business transactions that you'll need to throughout your time at USD by avoiding long lines and just accessing your My San Diego portal. So let's get started, and let me introduce our panelists for this evening. First, I'm joined by Michelle Zigowitz, one of the counselors in the One Stop Student Service Area, Rosemary Stahlbaumer, Director of Student Accounts, and Judy Lewis-Logue, Director of Financial Aid. The way that this is going to work is that I will facilitate the conversation, and each of the panelists will address their particular area and talk a little bit about how it all fits together, how the process works from start to finish. As you're listening to our presenters, you're likely to have some questions, and if you do have questions, you can use the chat feature to ask those, and we'll try to get to as many as we can during the live portion of the program. After our panel discussion, you'll have an opportunity to join a chat room, and I'll explain more about how that works later, where staff members from all the different offices will be on hand to answer all of your questions, to talk about your specific circumstances in more detail. So for now, let's go ahead and get started. And Michelle, we're going to start with you. When we refer to the One Stop Center, we really mean both the physical office as well as the virtual One Stop through the student portal. Now, the concept of a one-stop may be very different and unusual for some of our families here. They may not be familiar with it. I know when I went to school, there was no such thing. So could you start by explaining what it is and how it can help students throughout their time at USD?
Sure, Steve. One Stop Student Center is the front line for our partner offices. Our partner offices include student accounts, financial aid, and registrar. Our office location is in the University Center, room 126. Now you may ask, what can I do at a One Stop? Our students come into our office for a variety of reasons. You can review your financial aid package, receive assistance with filling out financial aid verification forms, submit a financial aid letter of appeal, review your student account balance, make a payment, enroll in a payment plan, submit forms for all of our partner offices, receive assistance in adding and dropping classes, receive assistance in navigating the San Diego portal, and to speak to a veteran services coordinator. However, if you can't visit our One Stop in person, you can email us. Our email address is onestop, which is all lowercase and one word, at sandiego.edu. When you email us, you do need to include your student ID number, and students, when emailing us, make sure you use your USD email account and not your personal email. You can also do many of these transactions that I mentioned through our My San Diego portal. Our Torero Hub tab is made up of multiple different departmental tabs, and we're going to cover several of them briefly tonight. The first tab we're going to cover is My Academics. You will receive this tab after meeting with your preceptorial advisor on September 2nd. On the My Academics tab, you have on the left-hand side the academic calendar, which shows important dates and deadlines for the semester. You can add, drop classes, look up classes, you can view your schedule, view final exam schedule, print unofficial transcripts, request official transcripts. You also have access to what we call our U Achieve audit. This allows you to track your requirements towards graduation. The second tab we have is called My Financial Aid. In the My Financial Aid status box, you have your financial aid award. Click here. This takes you to the tab where you can see your award overview and accept your financial aid award package. You also have active messages. These messages are from the Office of Financial Aid, and to review. It's important to check these messages often so you don't miss any important information from financial aid. We also have the financial aid requirements box. Red flags are items that require your attention. If you click on the wording to the left of the flag, it will take you to the directions on how to solve those requirements. If you have yellow triangles, it means financial aid has received the documentation but not yet reviewed them. It can take a couple of weeks for those flags to change. If you have green checks, the documents are finalized and there's no further action required. Our third tab is My Student Account. One note, to view the student account properly, you need to ensure that your pop-up blocker is disabled. There are directions listed on the My Student Account Notices box on how to do this. Another item on the Student Account tab is Title IV Authorization. USD needs to have this on file in order to pay any miscellaneous charges on your student account. So miscellaneous charges would be parking permits, parking fines, library fines, which we hope you don't receive fines while you're here at USD. To authorize the Title IV, you would just hit the authorized link. To view your student account, you'll click on My Online Student Account. This will open up either a separate tab or window, whichever browser you're using. Our next slide shows your online student account. There are multiple things that you can do here. You can make an online payment. It shows recent payments made to the student account. Enroll in direct deposit. This is ideal if you're expecting a refund from your financial aid. Sign up for a monthly installment plan. You can also view your billing statements. Now, if any changes happen to your student account after the billing statement is run, you can click on the recent activity link and it'll show all of those changes. The last tab I'm going to cover before I hand you over to my colleagues is FERPA. FERPA is the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. Having FERPA filled out allows the university to talk to you about your son or daughter's record once they arrive on campus. Students can designate different pieces of their record. Those different pieces are academics, which covers grades, account holds, viewing unofficial transcripts, and class schedules. Financial aid, you can view the financial aid package, messages, award history. Student accounts, which is billing information, setting up payment plans, making payments, parking information, campus cash, and USD authorized loan information.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Wonderful information. Rosemary, let's turn to you. This is timely, as most of our students are going to receive their first bill in just a couple of weeks. And the bill really pulls together information from many different offices around the campus. Can you walk our students and parents through the process, as well as talk about some of the other services that your office provides?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Steve. First of all, I'd just like to welcome everyone, and I appreciate you spending the evening or part of your evening with us. We have some important business to cover, but first of all, I just kind of want to focus on the happy graduates on the right side of your page, and hopefully you can see your son or daughter or yourself in that picture in 2008. So to start, we're going to cover what a student account is, what are the educational costs at the University of San Diego, the dates and deadlines, payment information, how financial aid is going to get to your student account and the relationship between the two offices. We're going to spend most of our time on billing statements, and then I will go over the highlights from the presentation. After the presentation, I know we're covering a lot of information tonight, so after the presentation, if there's anything that you still have questions about, parking permit costs, OLE weekend confirmation, you can do a search. Go to sandiego.edu and search for incoming freshmen and transfers, and you'll find a lot of helpful information. So I'm going to cover what is a student account and what our office does. So we handle the university's billing and payment for the university. We take all of the educational charges and credits, tuition, fees, housing, meal plans, and then we apply all of the credits for personal payments, financial aid, including VA benefits, personal check payments, and 529 payments. We also establish payment plans. We refund credit balances, And I know we're not thinking about taxes right now, but when tax time comes in January, we'll be providing the educational credit documents, the 1098-T documents. The next slide I'm going to show you is the cost of an education at the University of San Diego. This is a semester amount. You'll note that the block rate, at the top it says 12 to 18 units per full time. What that means is that if you take 4 3-unit courses or up to 6 3-unit courses, you're going to be charged the same tuition rate of $21,165 plus the required fees. You also have the health insurance charge, the housing, and the meal plan. What I want to tell you about this is these rates are good for 2014-2015, and each spring the Board of Trustees reviews the rates and does an analysis, and then they're updated each year and they take effect in the summer of that year. Next, I'm going to cover the dates and deadlines that are important. Over the summer, you received a Torero Countdown checklist, and the date of July 15th, today, was listed to pay bill or sign up for an installment payment plan. I just want to let you know that you actually have until August 27th to take care of that. If you want to go online right now, you can go to the View Recent Activity tab, and then you'll see all of the requirements, all of the charges and credits, and then we'll be sending out the billing statements on August 3rd. There is a health insurance charge that you'll see on your statement, and there is a deadline of August 22nd that you'll want to take care of that if you decide to waive out of that requirement. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail a little bit later in my presentation. We also have the last things on the list are the add drop period and the 100% refund period. And right now you're not thinking about dropping classes, but I just want to let you know that the refund period of a student, when a student drops out of a class, it decides on how much of a refund that you would get back of your tuition and fees if you drop below the 12 units. So I just want to let you know to be aware of those dates. Also, that's listed in the academic calendar for next year as well, so you would be able to see that. On a different note, or on a side note, I guess, I understand that the incoming students have received their LLC documents, or they're getting them today, and they started going out today. There's also the finalized course schedules going out, and so I think the transfer students are going out next week. But you should be receiving those pretty soon. I know that's always a hot topic of where you're going to be living and what classes you're going to be taking. I'm going to cover the payment information next. There are 2 payment options that we offer. One is to pay your account in full by August 27th, and also we offer a 5-month installment plan. It starts August 1st, and then it goes the 1st of each month through December 1st. You may wonder about this, since we're going to be sending out the billing statements on August 3rd, how you could sign up for a 5-month payment plan. So I just wanted to let you know this first semester we'll be offering a 4-month payment plan as well. And so once you get your statement, you'll be able to go online and see that option available. And you'll be able to go online and make your first payment. So when you make your first payment, that's when you enroll in a payment plan. Next, I'm going to talk about how financial aid gets to your student account and what the differences are between the two. I've covered what student accounts does with our billing and payment and the charges and accumulating all the charges and credits. And Judy, the Director of Financial Aid, is going to talk a little bit more about how financial aid works and what it entails. But just briefly, I want to say that financial aid assists families cover the difference between what an education costs and what a family can afford. And some of the simply stated steps are they complete a FAFSA, they do the documentation required by USD if there's anything requested, an award is provided to the family, and then the financial aid is accepted by a student. And you'll know that everything's taken care of when the red flags, there's no more red flags on your financial aid requirements. So you'll just want to make sure before we get closer to the start of the semester that you've taken care of everything. I want to note here that there is a 2-week delay. So before, there's a federal regulation that doesn't allow us to post financial aid to a student account until 2 weeks before the start of the semester. So we might have all of the requirements met and ready to post the aid, but we can't actually post it until 2 weeks before. So what will happen is when we get to that 2-week time period, that money will apply to the student account, and it'll apply to all the tuition charges and credits and fees. And then what will happen is if there's a credit on the account, then we will issue a refund. and you can sign up for direct deposit and we'll issue it directly to your bank account. If there's an amount due, then we would offer a payment plan, or you can pay that amount in full. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our billing statements. They're a little bit overwhelming when you first see all of the charges and credits. And I'm going to go into detail on each section. So you'll start out by seeing an overview of the full billing statement, and then we'll go through all of the pieces, and hopefully I'll get all of your questions answered. So first of all, what I'd like to tell you is that it is a monthly statement, and they are electronically sent to the student's email address. We do not send out paper billing statements, so make sure that you're checking your sandiego.edu email, because those will be sent. And I think that Michelle explained how to authorize a parent or an authorized user to receive notices. So as long as your parent is authorized to receive the billing statements, then all of our billing notices will go both to the student and to the authorized user or parent. Next, I'm going to cover the very top of the statement. It's the statement summary. And you'll see that there is a student ID number, a statement date, and then a due date and a total amount due. So when you look at the student ID, you'll notice it starts with a 009. And you're going to want to memorize that number. As soon as you start asking questions about your account, every office is going to ask you what your student ID number is. So it'd be very helpful if you memorize that before you get to campus. And you'll want to know that the statement date is, I just put August 3rd for this one because it'll be similar to what you're going to receive. Any charges or credits that go on the account after that date will not show up on this statement. They'll show up in the View Recent Activity link that is listed underneath the billing statements. And then you'll just be able to go there and see if any activity has been updated. Next, I'm going to cover the account activity section, which there's quite a bit of information here, so I separated it out into a couple of different sections. The first statement, you'll see that there's a previous billed balance, and there's not a balance because this is your first statement, so there's nothing that is being carried forward from the past. We have a column of charges and a column for credits. In this top section, you'll see the tuition and required fees and any course fees that are related. So when a student goes online and looks at their schedule, and when they're getting into classes, that the fees are listed as part of that class. So you'll see that there might be an additional fee in that case. The next section of the account activity on the next slide covers all of the miscellaneous charges. So you'll see the health insurance charge, and in this particular case, the student waived out of that requirement, which I'm going to describe in more detail in the next slide. You'll see the meal plan, the housing, and then you see parking permit and the Torero bookstore charge. The charges you don't want to see here are the parking citations, library fines, discipline fines, or the My Student Body fine for not completing that requirement. One thing I wanted to mention to you about the Torero bookstore is about how you go about getting your books. So if you go to the portal and search on your schedule, you'll be able to identify the required and the suggested materials. It's going to link to all of the options that you have as far as renting books or buying books through the bookstore. It's not required that you buy them through the bookstore, so if you see, when you do the search, there's going to be another section that has all of the other options, maybe even Amazon, that you can search on, and you can actually purchase the book at the best price that way. Okay, health insurance. So this year, health insurance is a new requirement to the university, and all full-time students are required to have health insurance. At the very top of this slide, you'll see the health insurance charge and the link. It says click link. And so when you get your billing statement, what you can do is you can go online and actually click the link, and it'll take you, it's an active link that takes you to the Gallagher site. Gallagher is our insurance broker, and that's the site where you can either actively enroll or waive insurance by August 22nd. And what you would do is if you have comparable or a better insurance, better coverage provider, you can go in and enter your current insurance provider's information. What will happen is Gallagher will take that information that you waived and they'll forward that information to us, and you might want to allow up to 48 hours for that waiver to be reflected on your student account. And then you would see the reversal as a credit on the account. The next two slides are mainly for financial aid recipients. And so the first slide is on estimated financial aid. And if you want to compare this section to your annual award that you receive from financial aid, you can do that. The one thing to know is that your annual award is an annual amount and that the billing statement is a semester amount. So you would have to take your financial aid award and divide it by 2 to get the amount that is being applied to the account. The other thing that you'll want to note here is that you see on the first loan, the unsubsidized loan, $1,000, it was reduced to $928. And that is the amount that would apply to your student account as a credit. The reason that is the case is because there is a small origination fee that is charged by the government to process that loan, and so that is the amount that would be charged. If you're expecting to receive financial aid, it's a great idea to sign up for direct deposit so we can make sure that we get your refunds to you as quickly as possible if there's a credit from the financial aid. The next slide is financial aid needs further attention. And what this section does is it alerts you in case there's a red flag on your account and that you need to still meet your requirements for that aid to be able to apply to your account. So in this case, there's a federal direct parent plus loan. So it might be that the parent still needs to sign a master promissory note, maybe needs to have a credit check still done. There could be, if there was a student loan listed there, it might be that the promissory note wasn't signed or that a change of status form needs to be filled out. And financial aid does a great job of posting portal messages to students to make sure that they're aware of those red flag requirements that need to still be met. The next slide we'll see is the payment options. And like I mentioned before, there are 2 payment options, to pay in full or to have an installment plan. And you'll see that the account balance that was listed as of August 3rd was reduced by the estimated financial aid. So we're going to take into consideration that that financial aid actually is going to pay to the account and reduce the balance. And then what we'll do is we'll take that balance and we'll divide it by the number of installments. And so you would just need to go online and make your payment. On the My Online Student account, there's a section for installment payment plans, and then you would make your first payment, and that would enroll you in the installment payment plan. The last section of the billing statement is important information, and this is a way that we can communicate with you and your parents about the important information that's current and most relevant to you and to your family. And so if you have questions after you get the billing statement, you might just review through the important information in case there's anything about upcoming enrollment. If there's estimated aid, we explain that a little bit better so it's just more clear to you what that is. And so you might want to check that section when you get a billing statement notice. So I'm going to just cover the student account highlights and what we discussed. And the first thing is the FERPA. I think we'll all mention that FERPA is super important for you to fill out so we're able to talk to parents or authorized users if there are questions about a student's account. The billing statement notices are going to go out the first week of August. Fall tuition and fee payment due date is August 27th. Like I mentioned, this first semester we're going to offer a 4-month payment plan, and so what you'll want to do is go ahead and make the payment, the first payment, by August 27th. But if you would like to sign up for the 5-month payment plan and start your payments on August 1st, please contact us and we'll be happy to help calculate what you would need to pay to make that first payment. The dates and deadlines are always in the academic calendar that you can search for online and that we do communicate with students via the sandiego.edu address. And then lastly, I just put the web address to the student accounts website, and parents and students both have access to this information, and we keep this updated with relevant information. So I would just go back and check that if you have any questions, and please don't ever hesitate to give us a call. We're always happy to help.
Great. Thank you so much, Rosemary. Wonderful information. A few of you have asked some questions. Before we get to Judy, let's go ahead and take a few of those. And one of the questions is if someone wanted to watch this presentation again, will they have an opportunity to do so? And you certainly will. This will be posted on the My San Diego portal, and so you can look at it again and go back and refresh your memory about some of the really, really important information you're hearing. A couple of quick questions. Michelle, there was one in particular. I know you talked a little bit about FERPA, so did you, Rosemary. How does one make an account for their parent specifically? Could you just walk through that process and reiterate that again?
Sure. The student would go out on the Turo Hub tab to the FERPA link, and what they would do is they'll enter in their parent's name and email address and date of birth, and then what will happen is the parent will receive an email, authenticate their account, and then the student will also have a section where they can authorize what part of financial aid, academics, and student accounts that they want their parent or authorized user to have access to.
Great, thank you. And Rosemary, what about another question came up about health insurance, and because it is so important, maybe we could just clarify. Someone wanted to make sure that if they do waive out of the health insurance requirement, do they still have access to the health center? And so could you just talk a little bit more specifically about what waiving out of the health insurance policy means?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the health insurance is strictly for insurance. There is a health center on campus, and you would still be, there is a fee that is a required fee that is automatically charged to the student account. So you will have access to the nurse on campus at any time. And then the insurance is actually more of an insurance provider, and it's through Aetna, and it's an annual plan. And so I'm just going to add one other thing, is that when you waive out for the fall semester, you're also waiving out for the spring semester. So you don't have to do that every semester. You do it on an annual basis.
Great, thank you so much. Again, we'll come back. We'll have time for questions toward the end of the webinar. But Judy, let's go ahead and turn things over to you. Both Michelle and Rosemary talked and mentioned different aspects of financial aid during their comments, and obviously it's so very important to so many of our students and families. By now, students have certainly filled out their FAFSA. They've gotten their award and they've accepted their financial aid and their scholarships, but the process is certainly not over. There's a lot of things that we still need families to do, not only between now and the start of the school year, but what a lot of families don't realize is this is an annual process. So I'll turn things over to you.
Okay, great. Well, first, welcome to the new Toreros. I thought first I should define financial aid because there can be confusion about what that term means. And financial aid is scholarships, grants, loans, student employment. All of those things are included in the title of financial aid. And the funds that make financial aid available are provided by the University of San Diego and its donors, the federal government, and the state of California. So there's a lot that goes into making financial aid available to students whose families may not be able to cover the full cost of education. I always ask the graduating seniors what they think is the most important thing I should tell entering students about financial aid. And the answer is always the same. Tell them not to borrow more than they absolutely need. When you receive your financial aid, you receive information as to the amount of loan money that you're able to borrow. You qualify to borrow that money. But it's really important that you go through your costs, the budget, and the funds that will be available to you, and determine how much you really need to borrow. It may be less. It often is less than what you're eligible to borrow. So that's a very important distinction, and we want to make sure that USD students know that up front. So I have to tell you that in addition to being careful what you borrow and how much you borrow, it's also very important to learn good money management skills. Those are skills that you need in college, but you also need them in the real world. And so if you have not gained good money management skills yet, this is the time to get to the bottom of that and learn as much as you can. And fortunately, with the internet, and on our website, the financial aid website here at USD, we have put a lot of information about money management so the students can access that before the school year starts. Now, you might be saying, well, does this make a big difference? Yes, it does make a huge difference, because I'm really proud of USD students who have managed to use this way of looking at it to graduate with very reasonable cumulative loans. For example, the students who graduated in the class of 2013, that graduated in May of 2013, Their average borrowing for the 4 years that they borrowed, each of those 4 years, was $29,100, which is actually $800 less than it was for the graduating seniors the prior year. So we're very proud of them. They have been doing a great job of limiting their borrowing, and they're really proud of themselves when they graduate and don't have humongous loans to pay back. In addition, we want to make sure that USD students know about the various ways in which you can get loans forgiven or canceled. In fact, this year, and we have this on the financial aid website here at USD, a nonprofit organization put together information that's titled 60 plus ways to get rid of your student loans without paying them. That's an intriguing title, and it definitely includes all kinds of information that you can use to, and it's good knowing as you come into college to know about this, because certain majors, certain fields, there are breaks for students who go into certain areas in terms of getting loan forgiveness or loan cancellation benefits. So we want to make sure you know that early on, and you can use that in determining what you're going to be doing after you graduate. In addition, another new factor is the new way in which students are being able to repay their loans. There used to be a set amount that students had to repay, and of course you get a 6-month grace period after graduating to give you an opportunity to find employment. And it used to be pretty cut and dried, but now if a student gets a really good job and their salary is very good, they'll be paying in the same way that students have in the past. However, if a student takes a position that doesn't pay quite as much, but they want that position and they hope to make more later on, their payments can be adjusted to reflect a certain percentage of what they make. So it's much better for students who go into different kinds of circumstances with their first job. And of course, you want to work as much as you possibly can. We encourage students to work part-time, 15 to 20 hours a week while they're going to school. And in addition, we like to see them take odd jobs. Odd jobs are things that get posted at the Office of Financial Aid from people in the community, like walking their dog or house sitting while they spend a weekend somewhere else. And those are quick jobs. They usually, we get those on a regular basis, and that's much better than borrowing more to be able to have a little extra money. So students have found that works out very well. And then, of course, another important factor that helps students keep their loans to a minimum is the wonderful world of outside scholarships. We are very proud of USD students for their persistence and ingenuity in finding outside scholarships. That figure goes up every year, and this year I am happy to say for the students who graduated in 2014, and they use these scholarships for the 13-14 academic year, they brought with them over $5.49 million in outside scholarships. It's quite remarkable, and every year that figure goes up. So I've seen scholarships come in for students for as much as $37,000 for 1 year. So they're out there, and we encourage students to be looking for them all through their college days. Each year we hold workshops in the spring to help students learn more and more about applying for outside scholarships. We want them to treat it like looking for a job. I mean, if they get turned down the first time, that they let it roll off of them and keep applying for other outside scholarships, much like seeking employment. You certainly wouldn't give up if you didn't get the first job you applied for. So we think it's really important. And then, of course, it's also very important to be sure that you know what the renewal criteria is for the University of San Diego merit scholarships, and also for those that are based on need and merit. And you want to know that now, because you don't want to be surprised later and find out you've lost a scholarship because you didn't meet the renewal grade point average criteria. So by all means, reread the information that you received in receiving a scholarship from USD, so that you know what it is you have to achieve to have that scholarship renewed each year. And I believe my two colleagues here have talked about how financial aid works, and the slide that you're going to see now is a very good kind of workflow of how the financial aid system works. You submitted the FAFSA, hopefully before March 2nd, which is the priority deadline for undergraduates, and that's very important not to apply late in subsequent years, because March 2nd is the priority deadline for entering freshmen, as well as students who are continuing at the university. And of course, when you complete the FAFSA, the Office of Financial Aid at the University of San Diego can receive that information electronically, as long as you have put our school code, federal school code. And obviously that this is something you had to do before this stage. And then, of course, the Office of Financial Aid notifies students through the portal, as has been described by my two colleagues, with regard to what else we need besides just the FAFSA information. It's very important to provide that information within 3 weeks, so that you retain your priority status if you applied before March 2nd. And then this is true for every year, not just the year you've already taken care of this. And then the Office of Financial Aid can determine your eligibility for all the different forms of financial aid. And when that's done, then your financial aid package is posted on your portal, and you have a chance to accept the financial aid. And that's the point at which you can kind of relax and know that you've done all that you need to do to make the financial aid available to post to your account. So Rosemary has already mentioned that the funds cannot post to your account until up to 10 days before the start of the semester. Now, there is a process called verification, and some of the financial aid award that initially is put on the portal is really only an estimate. And when there are red flags, it means that in order to know what the final financial aid award is, you have to provide the documents that are required in order for it to be finalized. So hopefully, you know, all of you, most of you have done that by now, but if you have not, you want to definitely do that very, very soon, because you have to complete all of those financial aid requirements before the financial aid can be finalized and posted to your student account. So please check the My San Diego portal financial aid so that you see if there are any red flags remaining. Now, a lot of you had red flags before it was time for us to process the loans that you're applying for. And so those flags are changing to green checks very quickly now, because we are able to process the loans in time for them to disperse for fall semester. And if I should have mentioned when I was talking about verification that the government selects a certain number of FAFSA applications and it requires the financial aid office to have access to your tax information to verify the application, and that is something that the instructions for that are also on the portal, so that you can do that easily. So watch out for those red flags. You don't want any red flags, and you have to be attentive because things can change. So you want to check that financial aid portal very often. Now, if there's a change made because as a result of something you've submitted, when that has been processed, and during peak periods, it can take a little longer to process it than during slower periods. But the student receives an email telling them to check their portal because there's something that they need to know about. So watch out for those emails that tell you to check the portal for your financial aid changes. Okay, and as I said, the loans are being processed as quickly as can be done. And on the slide, you will see the studentloans.gov, where there's lots of information, and where entrance loan counseling can be conducted, and the master promissory note can be signed. So that's very important as well. And as I said, if you had red flags, they're turning to green checks as those check marks as those loans are being processed. Now, while you're here over the 4-year period of time, you're going to want to track your student loans because you want to know how many have you accumulated, and we hope not much. And so you're going to want to become familiar with the National Student Loan Data System. We call it NSLDS, and that is a website that's on your slide, that a link to that so that you can check on your loans and know throughout the 4 years exactly how much you've borrowed. Now, my favorite topic, of course, is student employment, and I truly have seen students benefit greatly from their student employment experiences. Over 1,000 USD students work on the University of San Diego campus, and they are assets to the departments where they work. What shall I say? The opportunities are many for them. Their supervisors serve as mentors and can also write recommendations for them when it's time to apply for full-time positions after graduating. And you'll get a lot of different experiences working on or off campus that you can list on your resume and have a chance at getting a better job. So it also helps you explore career options. I mean, even if you take a job in a department and you decide, I wouldn't want to do this as a full-time job, well, that tells you something you need to know. So you may find a different student employment position that is more in line with what you ultimately hope to be doing. So we want you to take advantage of the Student Employment Center. It's in room 313 in the Hughes Administration Building, and we want you to become very familiar with the jobs that are posted in the hall to get extra money and keep your borrowing to a minimum, as well as find your part-time jobs on campus. Now, for those on the Federal Work Study Program who are not matched up with jobs during the summer, they need to attend the job fair, the Federal Work Study job fair that's going to be held on Thursday, September 4th. That's a very important date, and it's going to be between noon and 2 p.m. in the Hahn Center, forums A and B, and everything is taken care of at that time related to finding a job on campus. And I know some students are matched with jobs over the summer if they have special skills. So, but that's where you go if you don't have a job yet when school starts, to the job fair and work with the Student Employment Center. So the information that's been presented here is available on the financial aid website, and that link is on your slide, and we hope you take full advantage of it. So the financial aid staff looks forward to helping you in any way they can, helping students, helping parents, and we look forward to meeting you when you arrive in the fall.
Thank you so much, Judy. And thank you to all of our panelists for the information that they provided. We've got some time now for questions, and a lot of you have been busy sending in some questions for us, and we'll try to get to as many of them as they can. One sort of caveat before we go, a lot of you have asked fairly specific financial aid questions that might apply to your particular situation. We would ask that you do one of two things. One is to maybe join us again in the chat room where an individual financial aid counselor or one of the staff in the One Stop could really go into detail about your particular situation, or follow up afterwards with an email to onestop@sandiego.com and email us, and we can follow up more personally. But there were a couple of things, and Judy, while we're still here on this, someone wanted to clarify about the average borrowing amount that we have. The $29,000 that you mentioned, that is for all 4 years, not for one particular
Correct.
year.
That is correct.
Just want to make sure we got
Yes.
that
It
out there.
does not include parent loans. It only includes student loans, but it's the students that we're concerned about with regard to their indebtedness at the point at which they graduate. So yes, it is for 4 years.
Thank you. Michelle, I'll ask you to take this one. One of the questions came in was about study abroad. And as many of you know, study abroad is one of the key features about the University of San Diego. We're often considered to have one of the highest participation rates in study abroad of any school in the country. So it's something many of our students take advantage of. Not usually freshmen, but nevertheless, I think it's an important consideration that families have. Could you talk a little bit, the question was about study abroad and how it works in terms of tuition and financial aid. And students would, of course, have the opportunity to study perhaps at one of USD's programs, but then there'll be a different set of circumstances if they choose to study somewhere else.
Correct. If you choose to study abroad through a USD affiliated program and or exchange program, you can use your USD financial aid package. We do bill the normal tuition rate, whatever it would be for that current academic year. The only thing we don't charge is the mandatory fees because you are not here on campus. If you are going through a USD affiliated program or exchange program, your courses transfer back as USD affiliated courses, and all of the grades also transfer. If you opt to use a non-affiliated program, then we treat those courses as transfer work and you can't use USD financial aid.
Great, thank you. Question, Rosemary, for you, and again, it's about the health insurance, and this is such an important thing for families to kind of understand. The question was, how do they know that their insurance is acceptable to USD? So could you maybe provide a little more detail about the just sort of the questions that Gallagher might go through?
Okay, so what they'll go through is they'll look for the information as far as their provider's information, address. I really can't cover exact specifics of what's required. So I know that they can go online to sandiego.edu and look at the health insurance, and there's a lot of great information on the requirements.
Great, thanks. It's a great resource for them to go to. Judy, there were several questions regarding financial aid, and one of them, and it's sort of perhaps a specific question for an individual person, but I think it can apply to everyone. Because we mentioned earlier, financial aid is a year-to-year process. Could you maybe talk just a little bit about some of the circumstances that might cause financial aid, a family's financial aid award to change from year to year?
Yes. Well, one is when a family has more than one student in college at the same time, 2 siblings in college at the same time, the expectation from the family is divided into 2. It's not doubled, it's divided into 2 in the analysis. And so they get a break with regard to their eligibility at each of the schools. However, if one of them graduates before the other one does, which is often the case, then what was expected for the 2 is expected for the 1 after that other student graduates. So sometimes that catches people by surprise. So we just want to make sure that people understand that. In addition, there can be situations where there are injuries, things like that, where someone is not able to work anymore and that kind of thing. And the financial aid office will definitely work with the student who has some unusual, difficult circumstances and see whatever can be done to help them continue in their education. I did want to also mention something I've did not mention earlier, and that is that when you're deciding about how much to borrow, you don't have to, you can be conservative starting out. And if it turns out that you need to borrow a little more, you can do that in the middle of the academic year. It isn't borrow now or never. You actually can adjust your borrowing during the academic year. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off in terms of people feeling like they have to make a decision right now before they even get into the year. So I wanted to be sure to clarify that as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. A couple of other questions. And Rosemary, there were several questions that came up with regard to the payment plans. And again, I think you may have mentioned this, but just to make sure folks are clear on this, they wanted to know how they can sign up for the payment plans. And I know you can go over that. Is there a fee to sign up, and when will the first payment be due?
Okay, great. I can definitely do that. So there is a $50 fee to sign up for the payment plan each semester. You can sign up by going to your My Online Student account, and there will be an installment payment plan channel where you can select the payment plan. And when you enroll, you just make your first payment. So the amount is split into the installments, and then when you make your first payment, you're automatically enrolled in the payment plan.
Great, thank you. Back to you, Judy, if I could. This was regarding merit scholarships. I know we talked a little bit about that. And again, a couple of questions surrounding this. One, do the students need to accept them when they access their award? Do they need to accept those? And then the second part of that is they were curious if they can apply for them once they're a student at USD.
The answer is no. The merit scholarships are made available to applicants to USD, and for those who do enroll, they receive the merit scholarships that they were offered. However, when students become USD students, then they cannot apply for the merit scholarships, but they can apply for financial aid if they haven't before, and be considered for scholarships that also have a need requirement, that the student must have documented need in order to have that scholarship.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Another question that that came up here, and it was, how do they sign up for OLE Weekend? And I can give my colleagues a break, and I can answer this one. We assume, of course, that all of our students are going to be attending, and it is a required opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity for students. Of course, move-in is going to be on the 30th of August. You'll get you start to get more information about that, but we do want to know how many other people may be joining you for that. And so what you would do is you can register through your My San Diego portal, and you'll access the registration link under the admissions tab. And from the admissions tab, there's an announcements section, a sub-tab, and you'll go there to be able to sign up. Let us know how many of your family members will be there. That'll be really helpful for us in terms of logistics, so please take care of that. And if you have other questions about orientation or want to look more at the schedule, just visit www.sandiego.edu, and you can do /orientation for more information about that. Judy, there's some other financial aid questions, and this one is a little bit about private scholarships. I know you talk so much about how many of our students have been able to get additional funding. If private scholarships are not dispersed until after the bill due date, how does that sort of work? And I guess that would apply to other kinds of financial aid as well.
Well, what happens is the Office of Financial Aid, once they receive word that a student is going to receive the scholarship from the scholarship source, then it is estimated as part of their financial aid package. And then when the check is received, it is actually finalized and posted against the student's account. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Question that also came up about the Torero card. We can certainly talk about what the Torero card is, but also how is it used on campus, and is it like a credit card? And maybe I'll go to Michelle and or Rosemary to answer this one.
Well, the Torero card is your student ID card. So your ID card, it's your library card, it has your meal plan attached to it, and everything that's part of that meal plan. And you can also add what we call Campus Cash. Campus Cash can be used at anywhere on campus, the bookstore, the health center, any of the eateries on campus. We have a few restaurants down the street from the university that also take Campus Cash, so you do not want to lose your student ID card.
That's great. Wonderful. Thanks. One other another question that came up, and again, I can maybe talk a little bit about this, was about the immunizations. A lot of you have gotten information about certain immunizations and vaccines that you'll need to take care of before you come and live in the residence halls. Again, the best advice I could do is to go to our website and look up the health center. You'll see a list of the immunizations and the vaccines, all of the forms that you're going to need in order to bring to your healthcare provider are all there, and you can download those or just print those out from the website as well. And then I think we're probably closing in on our time here in terms of in terms of questions. We know a lot of you have a lot of additional questions that you're going to want to ask, and again, we really would encourage you to join our chat room. And I'll explain how to do that in just a minute. At the chat room, you'll have a great opportunity to talk with some of the staff here from the various offices, and they'll be able to again drill into some of your specific concerns and talk more about other questions that you have. The website is certainly very important. You've been given some great links tonight by our panelists here in terms of where to go for information. A couple of other of things that we're going to do one more piece of business before we do that. A lot of you want to take a moment and go back over what we call the Torero checklist, something that you've certainly seen from the very first package you received after May 1st, attached to your shirt that you received, a little welcome gift from USD. But the Torero checklist is really important because it does go over and list all of the things that you're going to need to take care of. So I'm going to ask Michelle to go over that just to highlight a couple of the real important things we still need you to do.
Okay. By now, you've already created your USD email account, seen the webinar for the Get Classes registration, completed your freshman advising questionnaire, and completed your housing questionnaire. You've also tuned in tonight's webinar, Getting Down to Business. You'll want to complete all of your financial aid requirements if you still have them outstanding. Tune in to the July 29th webinar, Supporting Your Students' Transition. As Steve mentioned, confirm your attendance for Ole Weekend by August 1st, and also submit your USD immunizations by August 20th. Set up your payment plan by the 27th, and then tune into the webinar on August 12th, our final one for Get Excited, Countdown to Your Arrival. Submit a photo by August 16th for your Torero ID card. Complete the My Student Body by the 17th of August. Enroll or waive your health insurance by the 22nd. Definitely do your FERPA page and designate your authorized user. Purchase your parking permit if you are bringing a car to campus. Those permits can be purchased through the portal mid-August.
Thank you so much. That's all the time we have for now, but I know a lot of you still have a lot of questions. So we hope that you'll switch over and join us in the chat room. And to do that, you're going to be able to log in to www.collegeweeklive.com. That's collegeweeklive, all one word, .com. And when you're there, visit the USD booth. And once there, again, you'll have an opportunity to talk with staff from all the different offices here and get more of your questions answered. I again want to thank Judy and Rosemary and Michelle for joining me tonight, and especially want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join our webinar tonight. We look forward to seeing you on campus. Thanks again, and good night.